On August 22nd, 1964, Fannie Lou Hamer addressed the Democratic National Convention Credentials Subcommittee. Fannie Lou Hamer, a black daughter of sharecroppers from Montgomery County, Mississippi, who was a reproductive rights advocate. It came to be because she went to the doctor one day to get a routine checkup and walked out with a hysterectomy against her will. Just the facts. Fannie Lou Hamer's fight for reproductive rights led her to join the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, a civil rights group, because Fannie Lou Hamer knew that she could not fight for reproductive rights. She could not effectively address the issues in her community if she didn't have any power at the ballot box. Fannie Lou Hamer became a heralded civil rights leader, a voting rights leader, and that's what led her to the stage at the Democratic National Convention that fateful August. That day, Fannie Lou Hamer pushed through a room of white men to the front of the Credentials Committee meeting. She sat down to advocate for the Mississippi Freedom Party, a party she started because black people were not allowed to be seated with the all-white Mississippi delegation at the Democratic Convention. And it was Fannie Lou Hamer who was demanding that the Mississippi Freedom Party be set with the all-white Mississippi delegation because black people, too, deserved rights, because poor people, too, needed a voice, because women deserved a seat at the table. More than 50 years later, folks not just in the United States of America, but all across the globe, women, black people, brown people, indigenous people, the LGBTQ plus community are still fighting for many of the things Fannie Lou Hamer sat at that table to fight for. So when you ask me, how do we bridge the gap in politics when it comes to women, when it comes to minorities? Well, first we have to realize that we really haven't come as far as we think we have. If we really want to bridge the gaps, we're going to have to change the system. We're going to have to understand that we need folks like Fannie Lou Hamer. Outside individuals who are willing to press upon the system, who are willing to march and push through crowds of misogyny and racism and sexism, who are willing to walk to the front of the room while many people told her she did not belong. Pull up a seat at the table and demand what it is that we know to be ours. If we really want to bridge the gaps, we have to do some work. Power concedes nothing without a demand, ladies and gentlemen. Power concedes nothing without a demand. There's no system in power anywhere in this world that is begging for someone to come change it. Nobody's saying, come take my job. Nobody is saying, come make me do a little bit more work today. No. But change comes about because folks that are willing to organize, folks that are willing to strategize, people that believe in something better, come together and put pressure on the system so the system can do nothing but act. That's what we need in our politics today, regardless of what side of the political aisle you sit on. So if you ask me, how can women, how can people of color, how can minorities make a difference? First, we have to stop asking for permission. You know, before I served as the National Press Secretary for Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign, I worked at a trade organization, a consumer advocacy think tank in the States, and I was their press person. I hated it. I knew nothing about trade. It was the hardest thing I ever did. Every day I went to work, somebody reminded me that I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. But I went to work anyway. And after working the trade job for about 6 months, I realized that I came to Washington, D.C. because I wanted to work in politics. I worked 15 different campaigns throughout my short collegiate life. I'm 29 years old. Actually, I turned 29 in December, like next week, like Monday. I knew I wanted to work in politics. So in May of 2015, I sat out and I went on interviews because I came to Washington, D.C. to work in politics. Y'all are good. Y'all are good. Y'all caught on. I didn't have to prep you. Don't you know I went on 27 interviews? If there's a Democratic entity in the city of Washington, D.C., I interviewed there and they did not hire me. They told me I spoke so well. I was so engaging. That I dressed so well every time I came into the office, that I was a joy to be there, but they were just going to hire somebody internally. Or they done found somebody else for the position. Or they didn't think I was a good fit for the office. 3 days after my 27th interview, I'm sitting in my office at the Consumer Advocacy think tank because I still had a job because my mama told me don't leave this job until you get another job. I'm sitting in my office distraught because I came to Washington, D.C. because I wanted to work in politics. And I get a phone call on my cell phone. And don't you know it's Jeff Weaver, Bernie Sanders' then campaign manager. Cold call, he says, hello, I want to know if you want to come work for us. I'm Bernie Sanders' campaign manager. And I say, who? I end up sitting down and having a conversation with Jeff Weaver. A couple weeks later, I have a conversation with the communications director, and then I don't hear anything. So now I've been on 29 interviews, and nobody has hired me. I am still working at the Consumer Advocacy think tank for trade, and I came to D.C. to work in politics. That Thursday, I'm leading Hill tours for a juvenile justice group because I am a juvenile justice advocate in my small spare time. And I get a cold call on my cell phone again. It's a black number. And don't you know it's somebody from Bernie Sanders' office saying, hello, the senator would like to meet with you today. Well, I've been on 29 interviews. And I was leading Hill towards my juvenile justice group, and I said, I would love to meet with the senator, but unfortunately, I am only available until 4 p.m. today, and I will not be available again until after 7:45. Y'all, it was 2:30. That's the millennial in me. She says, can you be flexible? I say, no. So if I cannot meet with the senator today, I'm sorry, I will have to catch him next time. She hangs up the phone, she calls me back in 5 minutes, she says, can you come now? I said, actually, I can't. I race over to Senator Bernie Sanders' office. I go into the meeting, it's just he and I, we get in an argument about the economy and his stance on the economy and the criticism that folks have had of his campaign thus far about how he has not effectively addressed race. We reconcile at the end of our conversation. We come to a point where we can both agree. Bernie Sanders says, you know, I think I like you. I said, I think I like you too, sir. He said, I think I want you to work here. I said, well, I think I would like to work here too. And then Bernie Sanders asked me something that not any of the 29 other interviews asked me. He said, do you have an idea of what you'd like to do? I said, yes, sir. I would like to be your national press secretary. I would like to be your on-the-record spokesperson. And I want to have a hand in the messaging strategy, just like we discussed here. Bernie turns his head slightly and he says, have you ever done cable television before? I say, no, sir, but I do believe I would be very good at it. Bernie laughs just as you do, and he says, okay, someone's going to call you. I've heard that before, so I shoot all my shots. I say, well, sir, do I talk coins with you before I go? Because, you know, economic inequality. He laughs. He says, someone will call you. That was a Thursday. On Tuesday, I get a phone call. It's Jeff Weaver. He says, kid, Bernie liked you. I love you. We start talking about a phone and a laptop. And I say, hold up, Jeff, what's my job title? Job titles are important for the millennials in the room. And he says, National Press Secretary. And I said, oh, okay, I can do that. I say that to say that if we really want to change the state of our politics wherever we are in the world, women, particularly women of color, people of color, young people, anyone who is not of the majority, we have to stop waiting and asking for permission. Because the fact of the matter is sometimes you can be the best. Sometimes you will be the smartest in the room. Sometimes you will be the person that has done the most work, and the proverbial they still won't pick you. Because perhaps you don't look like what they were looking for. Because your experience looks a little bit different. Because you do not come packaged in a way that folks were expecting you to come. But if we want to change the nature of our politics, if we want to change the system, we have to be willing to do some things that haven't been done before. So I'm going to leave you with this, a poem by Edgar Guest. It's called The Things That Haven't Been Done Before. And it mentions Christopher Columbus, which is problematic for me, because the only Christopher I like to acknowledge is Christopher Wallace. Look it up. But it's timely. The Things That Haven't Been Done Before by Edgar Guest. The things that haven't been done before, those are the things to try. Columbus dreamed of an unknown shore at the rim of a far-flung sky. Though his heart was bold and his faith was strong as he ventured to dangers new, he paid no heed to the jeering throng or the fears of a doubting crew. Many will follow the beaten track with guideposts along the way that lived and have lived for ages back with a chart for every day. Someone has told them it's safe to go on the road they have traveled o'er, and all they ever strive to know are the things that were known before, but few will strike out without map or chart where never a man or woman has been. From the beaten path they draw apart to see what no man or woman has seen. Their deeds they hunger alone to do. Though bruised and battered and sore, they blaze a trail for many who do nothing not done before. The things that haven't been done before, the tasks worthwhile today. Are you one of the flock that follow? Are you one that shall lead the way? Are you one of the timid souls that quail at the jeers of a shouting crew? Or dare you, whether you win or fail, strike out for a goal that's new?